Okay, all right. I'll just interpretive dance for a minute so we can get back on track. Hello. Good morning. Welcome to the Steam Cafe. I am your host, Gillian Rhodes, and I am here to blast you into the work week with a nice big cup of science-infused art or art-infused science, depending on how you look at it. The Steam Cafe has a varied menu. Sometimes we have guests, sometimes we have rabbit hole research, and sometimes we have performances. It is a matter of what is on the menu today. Today's special happens to be a performance, which I have been talking about doing for several weeks and haven't quite managed to get around to it. But today is the day. It is a time where how can I put it? The kitchen at the Steam Cafe is rather low on spoons, and so we don't have a lot of spoons to offer. But what we do have, I'm attempting to put to good use. That does explain a little bit, like the distracted state of being, which I think was last week, but who knows? You know, time is not real, and we live in a simulation. But there you go. So today, the plan for today, hopefully that it all works out. You can see the phone is behind me, which means that we're going to be doing performances, and we're going to be switching to the stage view in a little bit. But before we do that, we're going to do some planning, and I'm going to let you a little bit in on the process of making this, because pro tip, I haven't made it yet. I have thought about it, but I haven't actually done anything, which is fine because it's fine. I can improvise, it's not a big deal. But it does mean that before I turn on the stage view and do anything, we have to do some planning. So the subject of today's performance is the recent Perseverance landing. Now, there are some issues. Wait, before I go back, let me just say that this was suggested by community member Ambius. I believe it was Ambius. Ambius suggested this, that why don't you do a dance based on the Percy landing? And because, of course, I didn't really have any better ideas, I said, sure, why not? I'll do it. There are some issues with trying to portray Percy landing. One of which is scale, obviously. The stage, which I'm using, which is my flat, thank goodness I don't have any furniture, is, you know, a few meters by a few meters. And the scales of the Percy landing are in kilometers. So instead of kind of blasting in a straight line to the landing space, I'm gonna have to do it in circles, because otherwise it's just not gonna work. So we're gonna be doing it in circles. I think probably what I'll do is try to sort of do smaller and smaller circles as I'm getting closer to the landing site, and sort of portray it that way. The other thing that we have to take into account is speed, obviously. When Perseverance entered the Mars atmosphere, it was going at, you know, kilometers per second in some number, which I've forgotten, and landed. So obviously I cannot move at 5 kilometers a second. That would be kind of nice, actually. I could, you know, I could pop over in places and have tea and be back in time for dinner. But probably I'll just, in order to show that, you know, things are slowing down, you know, I'll start at a decent pace. I don't know, as fast as one can in a 5 by 5 meter square. And just get slower and slower and slower. So of course, as I'm approaching the landing site, I'll be moving very, very slow, but in the relative time frame, it will be sort of like I'm coming to a halt, I guess, something like that. I don't know. I'm going to be using a couple different tracks. The first is actually the mission audio from the landing. It's not the full 7 minute thing. It's 3.5 minutes, and I think it's a bit edited and clipped, but that's fine because it doesn't need to be 7 minutes. That's too long. And so that's just kind of the basic highlights along the way, which I'll talk about in a second. So we go through the highlights, then there's the landing. And then after the landing, I figured I would add a little bit of basically after the landing. And for that, I just need to choose a David Joseph Wesley track out of the library that I have. So I'll have to do that, but I think probably because I'm on headphones, I can't play it and have you listen to it. So we won't really be able to listen to it together. So I think I'm just gonna sort of pick one that I sort of know is okay. Oh, do you know what? I'm just looking at my library right now, and there's one that's called Dirt Side from the Music to Smuggle By. And I don't know what this song is, but I'm picking it because I feel like that's an apt description of of Percy at the end. Is, oh, I'm on the dirt side now. I feel like, if so basically, of course, during this whole thing, I'm going to be sort of, what's the word, anthropomorphizing. I think that's probably not how you say it, but I know that there's a word which is like that, anthropomorphizing, whatever it is. Anyway, that thing where you like give an inanimate object human traits. So obviously, Percy in this dance is going to be a feeling creature, and you can just imagine that it goes through all of this excitement of traveling and landing and all the scary adrenaline of landing, and then it's there and it's like, oh, I'm here now. So I'm not using any fancy lights today, partly because I didn't feel like it, and partly because I think that there are no fancy lights on Mars. So it's going to be a very barren, plain sort of setup, which I think is appropriate. So I'm just gonna sort of, roll with my lack of spoons and energy and just say that it was an artistic choice, because I can do that. There's two things that I need, basically. There's two props that I need to be able to do this, because they're significant parts of the landing. So one is the parachute, and one is the sky crane. So, yes, the parachute and the sky crane. Obviously, I don't have any cool things that even look remotely like, the Dare Mighty things, but I have a scarf which flows moderately well, and it's fairly large, and it just sort of flows like it's kind of a big flowy scarf thing. So this will be my parachute, and hopefully I can move fast enough that it billows a little bit. And if not, I can just like wave it around my head and make it look kind of interesting. And then I think my sky crane, I was thinking about this, and I think probably I'm just gonna use my backpack. I have some ideas for how I can use it to be a sky crane, and I don't think any of them are gonna work, but let's see. So this is my big old backpack, which is actually falling apart at the seams, but I've had it for many years, so it's allowed to do that. And then I think probably just for the sake of it, because we are landing on an alien planet, I wear my motorcycle helmet. Just because it's not safe out there, so you don't really know what's coming and how. And maybe when we get on the planet, we can take the helmet off when we take a selfie. So that's the plan. So we have we have restrictions of space, we have restrictions of dynamics, and we have a song that I've never heard, a bunch of mission audio, and some random props that I picked up from my um, hat stand. Obviously, language is just really easy for me right now. It's about, 5 or 6 words that I haven't been able to speak, but you know what? Let's roll with it. I obviously I don't need to speak to dance. So what I'm gonna do, ooh, that's the wrong way. Okay, I've just started my phone's camera and it is totally facing the wrong direction. So, so let me just deal with that. Um, you guys can have, I don't know, maybe Pamela can play some funky music in the background. We're gonna move to setup mode, and I will be with you in about, let's say, ambitiously 3 minutes. Yes, sound, no sound. You should, hold on a minute, hold on a minute, hold on a minute. Let me do a sound check. Can you hear this person?
Conflict indicates shoot deployed.
Okay, you got it? Okay, all right. Let's try landing again. All right, landing. Oh, and now the prayer call is going in the background, but you'll just have to ignore it and listen to the. Is it really loud? Okay, all right, here we go. Percy is incoming.
We are starting the straighten up and fly right maneuver, where the spacecraft will jettison the entry balance masses in preparation for parachute deploy and to roll over to give the radar a better look at the ground.
Conflict indicates shoot deployed.
The navigation has confirmed that the parachute has deployed and we are seeing significant deceleration in the velocity. Our current velocity is 480 meters per second at an altitude of about 12 kilometers from the surface of Mars.
Heat shield set.
Perseverance has now slowed to subsonic speeds and the heat shield has been separated. This allows both the radar and the cameras to get their first look at the surface. Current velocity is 145 meters per second at an altitude of about 9.5 kilometers above the surface.
Nav filter converge. Velocity solution 3.3 meters per second. Altitude 7.4 kilometers.
Now has radar lock on the ground. Current velocity is about 100 meters per second, 6.6 kilometers above the surface. Perseverance is continuing to descend on the parachute. We are coming up on the initialization of terrain relative navigation and subsequently the priming of the landing engines. Our current velocity is about 90 meters per second at an altitude of 4.2 kilometers.
OBS valid.
We have confirmation that the lander vision system has produced a valid solution and part of terrain relative navigation.
Priming. TBA is nominal.
We have priming of the landing engines.
Back shell set.
Current velocity is 83 meters per second at about 2.6 kilometers from the surface of Mars. We have confirmation that the back shell has separated. We are currently performing the divert maneuver. Current velocity is about 75 meters per second at an altitude of about a kilometer off the surface of Mars.
Here on safety Bravo.
We have completed our terrain relative navigation. Current speed is about 30 meters per second, altitude of about 300 meters off the surface of Mars. We have started our constant velocity accordion, which means we are conducting the sky crane, about to conduct the sky crane maneuver. Sky crane maneuver has started, about 20 meters off the surface.
We're getting signals from MRO. Tango Delta.
Touchdown confirmed. Perseverance safely on the surface of Mars, ready to begin seeking the sands of past life. We are starting the straighten up and fly right maneuver.
So obviously, my timing was a little bit off on the landing maneuvers. It's remarkably hard to hear when you're in a motorcycle helmet. But that's okay. I managed to figure it out along my way. I definitely did jettison my parachute too early. I don't know how I continued to slow down, but you know what? I did. And managed to land in one piece. And I think I even found some fossils at the end. So thank you guys. You're very, very kind. Just, oh, there's bits. Hold on a minute. Let me just tie up my hair and I'll give you bits. I feel like probably I should do it again, but I don't think I will. Unless there is a demand. I feel like this was my warm-up. But yes, I know, I'm getting some more bits from Keeper of Maps, and there's 300, so I'm gonna give you special happy dances. 200, sorry, whatever. Same difference, special happy dances they are. Thank you guys for being here and watching the landing. Obviously a little less suspenseful than it was in real life. I really don't have anything else for you today. That was about it. Just come in, come blast in, land, and then brush the dust off and be done. I'll have to think about if I'm gonna do it again on my own and film it, because I feel like I can do it better. So if you want, I can do it again on air, but I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. What do you think? Maybe, no? Okay, all right. If you guys aren't bored, and we do have time, so if you stick with me, it's 5 minutes. So and I'm being an artist. I'm being an artist. And the thing is, like, these days, this keeps happening to me where I like do something and I'm like, you know what, I could have done that better. And so I think I can do it better. And so I'm gonna do it better. So that's what we're gonna do. I learned that I jettisoned my parachute too early. I probably started the sky crane too early. And I think this time I'm gonna try to work on the different levels of deceleration a little bit more as I'm doing this. So that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna try to do it a little better. So let me just get my battle gear back on for one more landing. Perseverance didn't have 2 times around, but I do. That's artistic privilege. So here we go. Okie doke. Onwards and upwards. Perseverance landing part 2. You ready? Okay. Perseverance landing take 2.
We are starting the straighten up and fly right maneuver, where the spacecraft will jettison the entry balance masses in preparation for parachute deploy and to roll over to give the radar a better look at the ground.
Alpha Kick indicates shoot deployed.
Navigation has confirmed that the parachute has deployed and we are seeing significant deceleration in the velocity. Our current velocity is 480 meters per second at an altitude of about 12 kilometers from the surface of Mars.
Heat shield set.
Perseverance is now slowed to subsonic speeds, and the heat shield has been separated. This allows both the radar and the cameras to get their first look at the surface. Current velocity is 145 meters per second at an altitude of about 9.5 kilometers above the surface.
Nav filter converged. Velocity solution 3.3 meters per second. Altitude 7.4 kilometers.
Now has radar lock on the ground. Current velocity is about 100 meters per second, 6.6 kilometers above the surface of Mars. Perseverance is continuing to descend on the parachute. We are coming up on the initialization of terrain relative navigation and subsequently the priming of the landing engines. Our current velocity is about 90 meters per second at an altitude of 4.2 kilometers.
LVS valid.
We have confirmation that the lander vision system has produced a valid solution and part of terrain relative navigation.
Priming. TBA is nominal.
We have priming of the landing engines.
Back shell set.
Current velocity is 83 meters per second at about 2.6 kilometers from the surface of Mars. We have confirmation that the back shell has separated. We are currently performing the divert maneuver. Current velocity is about 75 meters per second at an altitude of about a kilometer off the surface of Mars.
Gear and safety Bravo.
We have completed our terrain relative navigation. Current speed is about 30 meters per second, altitude of about 300 meters off the surface of Mars. We have started our constant velocity accordion, which means we are conducting the sky crane, about to conduct the sky crane maneuver. Sky crane maneuver has started, about 20 meters off the surface.
We're getting signals from MRO. Tango Delta.
Touchdown confirmed. Perseverance safely on the surface of Mars, ready to begin seeking the sands of past life. We are starting to straighten up and slide.
Okay, I'm back. All right, I am happier with that. I'm glad I did it again because the first time around I really missed some cues. And this time around I managed to pick up some of those cues, get the timing a little better, and play around with some of the subtleties in the deceleration and in the landing and in what it might be like for a little rover to be landing on an alien planet. And that is really all. I'm not going to do it a third time. 3 times a charm, but 2 is enough. So, thank you for joining, stopping by the Steam Cafe on this little lovely Monday in the middle of March, which had so many promises and somehow has not seemed to love up to really any of them. But there you go. Thank you for following the Science and Art Guide. There's been a couple of other follows that I've missed. Wetsis followed, and there was somebody else. Saphir Rife. Thank you guys for the follow. Here's a very confused happy dance for you. Thank you so much for being here, for joining, for being part of this show and of CosmoQuest. You can learn how to get more involved and support CosmoQuest along the way. I am not actually the Science and Art guy. I'm not actually Canadian. The grand question is guess where I'm from. It doesn't really matter. I live elsewhere at the moment and have been for quite a while. If you would like to know more about my work, I'm a dancer, choreographer, and storyteller. If you'd like to know a little bit more about my work, please do check out my website at gillianrhodes.com. I also have a YouTube channel. I post a bunch of crazy stuff. The latest video just came out today, which was the video that came out of me filling my house with balloons, and I am not actually exaggerated. I filled my house with balloons, probably at least a couple hundred. And I made a video which ended with me with like Wolverine nails in my fists, like attacking them. I think I saw in the Discord that my Minecraft Monday is canceled because Annie had a late night, so I'm not really sure about that. There might be, so that might be, but from tomorrow there's a daily space. I don't know what time it happens anymore because the time has changed and my time hasn't changed and that's been shifted. So it's on at some point, but the links will come up in the chat and how you can get involved. And yes, Keeper, there was a lot of balloon deaths. All of the balloons that were filling my house, they all perished at the hands of the nails. But I have to say that it was harder than I expected because balloons are slippery little buggers. So there was definitely a few that I had to literally just punch. Most of them I had to just punch. So the video that came out is like at least half of just me attacking the balloon somewhat fruitlessly, which perhaps is a metaphor for existence right now. Fruitlessly attacking balloons and having it. But the images that came out were kind of interesting. So the title of the video that I've decided on is, and it was all going so well. So, so that's enough. I will be back next Monday, as usual, at the same time, at the same place. And I will have a guest finally. I'm not going to say the name right now at the risk of getting it wrong, but there will be a guest, and I will be here with some more science-infused art. Thank you guys so much for being here and for watching my experiments in putting movement to random things. It was fun. So I will see you next week. Have a great Monday. Bye-bye.